a lot of people are operating from a place of freeze and they have no idea themselves. So they may be thinking that they are being lazy, or they don't have enough motivation, or they're not inspired enough, whereas in reality it may be their nervous system keeping them in a state of freeze. Are you one of those people that is always trying to take actions or trying to move forward, or trying to complete a task but somehow doesn't get to do it? Or you may be completely aware of the next step that you're supposed to take, or you may know exactly what you're supposed to do, but taking actions is just not so easy for you to do so. Or you may feel a little bit stuck, or you may feel like you're not even connected to your body, or you're completely feeling disconnected from your own self. And I want you to know that this has nothing to do with willpower, and it has everything to do with your nervous system trying to keep you safe and trying to put you in a place of freeze because it's just trying to protect you. I'm Faria Barlas, chartered psychologist and business growth and success coach. And today I want us to think about and talk about ways that we can understand what this freeze is, and also how to gently shift yourself away from the place of freeze without bypassing your body, or without the burnout, or without feeling overwhelmed. So let's start by talking about what is freeze mode. So freeze mode is actually a trauma response where your body feels like you're not safe, so it goes into keeping you shut down or frozen in order to keep you safe, or in order to protect you. Now, when we talk about the trauma response, I know a lot of people might think about fight or flight, which is perfectly fine. They're also a trauma response, but freeze usually happens, and actually in my experience of working with so many people, freeze is the most common trauma response when it comes to your nervous system reacting, because freeze happens really when your body doesn't believe that you can fight the situation, or you can run away from the situation. So you actually just shut down. So if you think about it, when these trauma responses were developed, we would have been small. And if you think about yourself or your childhood as a small child, chances are that when things were happening around you, or that were overwhelming for you and for your body, it was very difficult for you to fight back because you were a child. So chances are that you would have froze and you would have just shut down in order to be able to deal with that situation. So now, as an adult, we tend to carry a lot of these trauma responses that were developed in our early ages. So it's safe to say that a lot of these trauma responses were developed when we were small, and because we never really properly evaluated what we were doing, we just take it for granted that, okay, well, this is just how we are. So we don't really evaluate that. And then as a result of that, we tend to carry these trauma responses from the time that we were small, and we then take it for granted that this is just, maybe we're just lazy, or maybe we're just not motivated enough. So I want to tell you what some of these freeze modes would look like, and you may be able to identify with some of these. It could look like when you're just going through the motions on a day-to-day basis, and you're just getting things done, but you're not really fully present. Or that you may have lots of different projects or mini projects or to-do lists, but you never really get to actually take actions. You get anxious about it. So you're sitting down worrying and thinking about all of these things that you have to do, but you don't actually sit down and get it done. Or it may be that you feel like you're procrastinating because, not necessarily because you don't care about it, but you procrastinate because it just feels almost impossible for you to step up and take actions, even though that's the very thing that's going to reduce your anxiety. If you actually just get this work done, then you feel a lot better. So why is it that you're finding it difficult to actually do it? In these situations, I know that people tend to become really critical of themselves. by saying, well, I know I need to do this. I know exactly what I need to do. So why am I being so lazy and not finding the answer? They start to feel even more and more negative about themselves and more critical. You may even tend to overthink a lot. I've seen that. That's actually a very common freeze mode, because you then, rather than taking action or stepping into action, you tend to start overthinking every possible option in order to avoid taking the action, because whilst you're constantly thinking about what the right thing is, how can I make this better, how will it look, and all the other things that what you do, then you're stuck in that in your head. You're stuck in that overthinking process. So you don't really have to step into your body, and you can prolong that state of freeze. So being in a state of freeze has nothing to do with a lack of motivation. This is really important to know, because if you think that this has to do with motivation, or you need to motivate yourself more or be inspired more, the chances are that you look for solutions that are not going to be necessarily helpful, because it's not a motivation problem. This is a nervous system problem, because your body is not keeping you aligned with what you're supposed to do. And the reason for that is because this is a response to a stress or a trauma or something that did not feel safe in the past for you to take action on. So this is your nervous system's way of keeping you safe from a perceived threat. And I want you to understand that just because our nervous system is trying to keep us safe, it doesn't really mean that we are in danger. It just means that it's perceived as a threat. And why would, stepping into action be perceived as a threat? For that, you need to think about the kind of environment that you grew up in. If in the past, and this I've seen it many times, if in the past, or when you were small, or, when you were a teenager, or even at school, if taking actions might have led to punishment or failure or rejection, or if other people responded to you taking actions, and that action not being perfect, in a way to be critical of you, or in a way to be mocking you or making fun of you, or even rejecting you, then the chances are your body would register that as a threat, because your body doesn't want you to go through that process again. Your body doesn't want you to go through the process of being shamed, or feeling hurt, or being rejected, or whatever it is that you would have experienced. So the first thing to do is to stop fighting this feeling of freeze. So rather than trying to push yourself out of it, try to come back and to your body and realize that actually it's safe to be here. That's the most important thing that you need to create for yourself. So rather than shaming yourself and going, okay, well, why am I not taking actions? Ask yourself, come back to this moment and ask yourself, why or what is my nervous system trying to protect me from right at this moment? So this is a first step to stop the shame cycle. Rather than shaming yourself, you're actually compassionately inquiring about what it is that your body is trying to protect you from. Then the second step would be to start making small shifts, right? So if you think about this, the nervous system keeping you stuck, then you would understand that this is not a mindset thing. So it's not happening in your head. This is happening in your body. So it actually makes sense that the more you tend to move your body intentionally, the more you're sending the signal to your body that you're safe to move. So you can start by taking 30 seconds and just shaking your hands, or, and just, whilst reminding yourself that you are safe in this moment, and you're just, moving your body, you're just shaking your hands, or you're just, rolling your shoulders, something like a very small movement, but it should be enough to give your body the signal that it doesn't have to be in freeze, and that it's okay and safe to move. But I also want to stress that don't step into huge movements, or don't overdo this. We are just looking at small actionable movements just to bring ourselves and our body out of freeze. So the third step would be what I call the 5% rule. This means that instead of thinking about the task that you have to do as 100%, of progression, what I want you to think about is what can I do to move this forward only 5%, right? So if you have to write a document, it would be just switching on your laptop and taking a deep breath and just looking at what you're supposed to be doing. So just 5%. Or if you have to send an email, rather than just feeling overwhelmed at the thought of writing the email, just thinking about the subject line or the first sentence. Basically just thinking about the 5% of the task that you have to do and taking a very, very aligned, small action to complete that 5%. Step 4 is using your breath to rewire a sense of safety in your body. Remember, we don't want to overcomplicate it, and we don't want to go into too much details or depth about what breath work is. We're just taking a small deep breath. You can take 4 seconds to inhale and then 6 seconds to exhale. Simply, that's it. And whilst you're taking that deep breath, what you're actually intentionally telling yourself is, I am safe, right? So you are actually working with your mindset as well as your body. And the idea is that a longer exhale would actually tell your nervous system that you are safe. So this is a very good 4-step, very quick steps that you can take in order to bring that sense of safety to your body a little bit more. So this is what I'd like you to consider today. I want you to approach yourself and your body and your nervous system with a lot more compassion and understanding. And I want you to know that healing or becoming more productive has nothing to do with you needing to push forward more, because that would only lead to burnout and you feeling resentful of any task that you're supposed to do. So I want you to think of it as you having to work with your nervous system and not against it. You having to understand what's actually happening in your body rather than just pushing through or taking action that's going to make you shut down even more. I hope you found this helpful. If this resonates, feel free to subscribe, and I will be uploading weekly content and videos on everything to do with healing, trauma healing, success, productivity, self-development, and the link between success and abundance and trauma healing. So feel free to subscribe, and you may share this also with somebody that you think might need to hear this. I will also leave a link to my freebie, which you can just download and listen to. So it's a free audio and a worksheet, all to do with functional freeze. I will leave it in the description box. Feel free to download it for yourself and start your journey.